To be a shadow. That's the kind of life our hero might have been stuck with if everything had just rolled along as usual. The bastard son of Eddard Stark, Warden of the North, and the walking reminder of Catelyn Stark's shame. But fate had other plans. Welcome to the Fable fabric. Let's dive in. In one of our previous videos, we already gave you a quick intro to today's hero and his legendary sword. But today we're expanding on Jon Snow's outfit and taking a closer look at the rest. First, a few words on how the costumes for Game of Thrones were made. The lead costume designers were Michelle Clapton and April Ferry. Their work is covered in quite a bit of behind-the-scenes material and, of course, fans have picked it apart frame by frame. Today, we're not only going to lean on those sources, we're also going to dig into the historical nuances of Jon Snow's armor, the one he wears after leaving the Night's Watch. And, as always, we start with prep. Step 1. Cutting the patterns. Using pre-made templates, the maker carefully traces the outlines of each piece with tailor's chalk, and then does a quick base to keep everything in place. Next, we move on to the pants pieces. Then it's time for leather. Same templates, but instead of chalk, it's a simple pencil. This leather is going into the quilted jacket, the brigandine, the gorget, all kinds of fastenings, straps, and gloves. In any armor setup, every clothing layer matters. The shirt is basically your hygiene layer because everything you're wearing on top of it is rougher and way harder to clean. Pants are just as important for any warrior, and this is where we should hit pause and talk about them properly. Judging by certain cultural details, the world of Game of Thrones roughly lines up with the late Middle Ages in our world. but historically, men in that period commonly wore hose. Basically, it's separate stockings tied to a belt. Under that, you'd have brays, which were the underwear layer. That combo mattered a lot for mounted fighters because thick padded hose protected the legs from chafing. It was only later that stockings evolved into a single-joined garment. What kind of pants we see on Jon Snow? You'll more often spot something like that in Viking contexts or among barbarian tribes, which could be a nod to his northern roots. Although, to be fair, plenty of other characters wear basically the same pants. So why did Game of Thrones costume design skip such a key medieval element? Honestly, it's pretty simple. Grim, hard-edged warriors in stockings don't exactly scream cinematic. And besides, it's fantasy. In this world, pretty much anything can exist. And since our pants aren't exactly following strict historical rules, we're adding suspenders so our hero doesn't end up pantsless at the worst possible moment. Jon's cloak deserves its own moment. In earlier episodes, we already showed how the suspenders are braided. But today we've got something special. We're making fabric on a real horizontal loom. The basic idea is genuinely fascinating. It's all about weaving the warp and weft together. The warp threads are stretched on the loom lengthwise, and the weft is made by pushing a thread crosswise through the warp. Here's what it looks like in practice. The lengthwise threads are pulled along the loom. Half of them, every other thread, is attached to one frame, the other half to a second frame. Those two frames move up and down relative to each other, separating the warp threads and creating a gap, the shed. A shuttle moves back and forth through that opening, carrying the cross thread. No one knows exactly when the first loom appeared. Some sources say ancient Egypt, others point to China around the same time. What we do know is that people invented a way to separate threads using a heddle rod, a wooden bar tied to the even warp threads, while the odd threads hung free. That alone doubled the speed, though it was still brutally labor-intensive. The drive to make fabric production easier kept going. Later, looms appeared where heddles already separated even, and odd warp threads properly, and the process got tens of times faster. At that point, it wasn't interlacing anymore. It was true weaving, and different weave patterns became possible. After that, the basic loom design stayed more or less the same all the way into the 18th century. In 1733, English inventor John Kay created the first mechanical flying shuttle for a hand loom. It was a revolutionary change. Now, you didn't have to manually throw the shuttle across, and the width of the fabric was no longer limited by the weaver's reach. But anyway, back to Jon. While we got carried away with history, our craftsperson is already turning that woven cloth into a proper cloak, shaping it and trimming it with rich fur. Next up, the footwear. Jon's boots aren't flashy, just straightforward low-heeled boots. That kind of thing was widely used in our world roughly from the 13th to the 15th century, and you can find plenty of real historical analogues. We start, just like with the outerwear, by cutting the leather, and we use different types of leather for different parts of the boot. The maker marks out the needed pieces from big to small, then cuts them using special leather knives. With those same tools, we thin the edges for a cleaner fit when the pieces meet. After gluing the parts for extra strength and accuracy, we punch holes with an awl and begin stitching everything together. Then we punch the lacing holes and stitch each one around with thread. Once all the parts are assembled and the laces are fed through, we move on to the sole, probably the single most important part of any shoe, especially a warrior's shoe. Jon Snow's costume has a lot of elements that deserve a proper close-up, so we're splitting this episode into two parts. In the next video, we'll take a detailed look at the main protective piece of Jon's armor, what it really is, and where it came from. And we'll also try to answer the big question, why doesn't Jon Snow wear a helmet? Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. See you next time.